Good morning, Beena. Good morning, Beena. Good morning. Good morning.
Hello and good morning. Good morning, Syl. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well. How about you, Beena? How about you?
I'm good. I was busy, but I'm good.
Oh, very good.
First, before we start, welcome to the Moreness culture. Whoever is watching us here live, that will be
Yes.
wonderful for us to please join. Do like, comment, and share also. And happy Mother's Day to all of you. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Uh, and happy Mother's Day to all the mother figures in anyone's life. And happy Mother's Day to everyone who ever been playing a role as a kind mother in anyone's life. So happy Mother's Day to you, sir, and to
Oh,
all my
thank you, Beena.
friends, no matter
Happy
they are
Mother's Day
male
to
or
you as
not.
well.
Yes. Oh,
Is
yes.
Mama
Thank you
well?
so
I'm
much.
assuming she's good. Yes.
Yes, she's good.
Oh,
She's good.
very good. Very good.
And this is we some I feel that we need to learn a bit more about this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get confused with the actual mother and the idea of being a mother. The idea is someone who is appropriately loving you. That's the idea of being a mother for me. Because mother's not always like, oh yes, poor child, and oh my child, and loving and caring. No, they do punish you. They do get upset. They do get really adamant and of course strong and sometimes a bit cold-hearted, but all for your good. And
Yes.
this is the
Yes.
idea of mother. Not every mother actually qualifies for that, but the idea of mother I'm talking about. This is the idea of mother. And this can be anyone, your father, your brother, your friend, your sisters, anyone can be. Anyone can be this. And we all can be this idea of being appropriately loving others. This is the idea. Again, we have a bit of mess up idea with love and all these things. Today, almost everyone is celebrating Mother's Day, and then we do celebrate Father's Day and Teacher's Day also. But these are just aspect of one appropriate person. If you are just trying to be appropriate and deliberately good person, these are going to be all uh, in you as different aspects. So for me, I'm wishing everyone happy Mother's Day, including all my friends, including all my teachers and everyone,
Right.
because who
Right.
have been playing a role of a mother in my life. The idea of mother, not exactly like a mother, uh,
Yes.
the,
Yes. Yes.
the profound idea we have of a mother.
Yes. Yes.
And this
But
sometimes we just take it and try to deliberately, sometimes people overlook that. Because when you ask them who actually the purest love, they will say, oh, the mother. Okay. If
wow.
mother is in your life, if mother is the purest form of love, then why you forget about when she was actually giving you tough time to learn new things? You completely overlook that. If that is the purest form of love, which is of course like to be appropriate, then why not it can be in other relationships? Why I cannot love my friends like this, where they need uh, a wake up call, if they need a reality check somewhere, why not? And why they not take it as a gesture of love from me, or I don't take it from others? This is something we all need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then we will learn that what actually love is.
So you're saying that we can be mothers or fathers to our friends even,
Exactly. Why not?
or to people we don't know. Oh, I totally agree. I'm just confirming. I'm just checking. I didn't want to say so. I suppose I could do as a repeat back, but that was my understanding from what you said. Something that came to me as you were saying it. That's very
We can
powerful.
be
That's
mother.
very powerful.
We can be
Yeah, as
mother or
appropriate, of course. We're not always that
exactly.
way, but as appropriate. Yeah. And you mentioned
we
something
we
else.
we we
Oh,
have
go ahead.
unrealistic expectations from our
Yes.
parents
We do,
and
we
of course
do,
from
we
our
do.
children.
Unless we have a sensible parent who admonishes or instructs or makes aware. makes the child
Exactly.
aware to not have unrealistic expectations of
Exactly.
parents.
Exactly.
Yeah. What did your mother say to you in that regard, Beena?
She says that always treat your parents or consider your parents as human first,
Yeah.
even not your parents first. Like, okay, no, I'm not your mother. I'm human first. Not even as a woman. No, I'm human first. And
Wow.
this is what she says, say that okay, always treat and consider your parents as human first. She actually at that moment she gave me the idea, the precise idea of the heroism or hero worship also.
Yes.
It is so
And,
entrenched in
and
my
it being
culture.
inappropriate. Inappropriate.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, which is so
Yes.
entrenched in my culture.
Yeah.
That was
And
quite yes.
what I love about this, look at the subtlety involved there. Mama didn't use the word superiority paradigm, but she
No.
made you aware of the inappropriateness of it if you start to connect the dots, right? With
Yes.
hero worship, why do parents have this? Because it feeds their
Yes.
ego.
Yes.
I've even heard people say, when they were young, or like, when you're leaving school, or towards the end, you're starting to think about children. Yes, I want children. I want them to be looking up to me, to see me as the best thing ever. They even said it out loud, and they weren't
Wow.
they weren't necessarily egotistical. This was just to them the benefit of it. It was absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Like really, that's why you want kids? Yes, somebody who'll listen to what I say, who'll do what I say. It's amazing.
Exactly.
It is actual agenda. Just absolutely mind blowing. Really, really mind blowing. But that's, when we understand this now, we see the perils of this. And of course, it's a flawed system. That idea. Yes, when the kids are young, you are the hero and they worship you and all that. But how long is that going to last? Unless you actually are something like that, then fine, yes. But if you're not, it's sooner or later that bubble's going to pop, and then you got trouble. Then,
Yes.
then you're going to severely affect the psychology of your child, which of course we see so much of, right? That
And
disappointment, that disillusionment, and that leads to anger and stress, leads to all sorts of problems. Not ideal,
yes.
in other words, not ideal. Foolishness, to for
Yes,
want of a
yes,
better word.
absolutely. And thank you for actually bringing this point of superiority paradigm here because it is necessary to understand that because most of the parents nowadays, I have seen and experienced that they're not happy with their children. They're complaining. And if they are
Correct,
not complaining, they are sad.
correct,
And the
correct.
sadness is like, oh my God. Even when they're saying that, oh yes, they are living and they are wonderful people, but the sadness is still there. You can feel that. It's not
Yes,
very subtle, actually. Yeah,
yes,
it's just like,
yes,
okay, yes, if you pay attention, you will see that it's
yes,
very evident. Why
yes.
they are sad?
Yeah.
Okay, this is
Which,
this is the problem because mostly parents assume that what they have been actually saying and teaching to their children, they didn't do that
yeah,
exactly, and that's
yeah.
the idea they have because first thing, no one is going to do exactly as you will ask them to do.
Right.
But especially children, it's like duh, that they only do what you do. So, what you were doing at that age, in that era, with your parents, you were exactly living exactly like what you were saying? No, because this is against human nature. If we all will just keep doing the same thing, exactly the same thing, we will not evolve. We will not actually excel. It's
Wow.
against the evolution. It is completely against. No, because they are the children of this age. They need to learn the new skills, the new way of communication, especially. Communication, we assume that okay, it needs to be, oh, no matter you are going to moon or conquering Mars, but it's still your communication needs to be exactly like Shakespeare. Why? It is evolving. Yes, the appropriateness would needs to be there, but it is also evolving, and that's the problem. My parents were watching movies. that was the time they were young. And it was a big thing, of course. They used to watch movies at home, they used to watch movies in cinemas, and it was a regular part of their life. Even my mother used to go with her friends, like, okay, yes, afternoon
Ah,
shows, they're going
interesting.
there. All women in there. And I was asking, like, Mama, grandma was with you? And she said, no, all friends. I said, but this is not part of our culture now.
Ah,
I cannot just go out to the movies, like, okay, just by my own. And she said, no, you
on my
can,
own.
but yeah. Okay. So she says, yes, you can go. I said, yes, you never did. Like, okay, exactly. Because I never asked for that. I never did. But you guys were doing a lot of things, really modern and, of course, liberated kind of a culture you were living in. We are living in a different. And she says, but you guys now have phones, so you are continuously doing whatever you want to. I said, see, now you don't like it. Before it was okay. That's the problem. We just
Interesting.
forget the idea of appropriateness, because
Yeah.
we all have a certain role for the certain time period in someone else's life. We need to really, really understand this. We cannot be always exactly the same in everyone's life. No, it changed. Everything changes. And of course, it even relationships evolve. Your relationship with your parents, with your children, with your siblings, with your friends, everything. And we need to learn that. So today's thought was just about really go into the depth of the idea of mother. And then you will
Yeah.
understand that
Brilliant.
the
Brilliant.
idea of mother we have is an appropriate love.
Yes. Yes.
Not just divine love, it is an appropriate
Yes.
love.
Yes. Yes. And we get back to that idea, or at least this, what your mother shared with you, which was to say, treat me as human first. In
Yeah.
that, in that, she popped the bubble of inappropriate moreness and made it into actual real moreness, because that's a moreness comment. There's a lot of moreness to that, yes, as
Yes.
we're discussing. And this understanding of moreness appropriately, this is huge, because now you are able to extract appropriate value from what your mother shares with you. Yes, and you are able to well, not able to, you are forced to, in essence, if you take that seriously, what she says, it now shifts your awareness, your understanding, to think about what she's saying to you, what she's doing, in other words, take
Oh,
it
it
into
was,
cognizance,
I
to be
took it very
discerning.
seriously. Very seriously.
Exactly, exactly. And this is what you want. But when we get into that inappropriate parenting, where you want somebody to basically worship you, which is an ego issue, and also it's about control. You want them to do exactly what you say. You are taking away the individuality and the freedom of your child. It's never going to work. And if it does, what do you end up with? You end up with a robot. Uh, this is
Yes,
just terrible. Just absolutely terrible.
it
There's no
is.
moreness in it whatsoever. But when you have that license to be more, to be appropriate, you also start to see it's not necessarily, to get back to your focus on Mother's Day. We get to see it's not necessarily what exactly is said, but why it is said. Now you start to look a little deeper. So, your parents, whoever, they say something, or, share something, ask you to do something,
Hmm.
and, well, it's not ideal, it's whatever, right? However, the intent to goodness that underlies it all, that moreness, that is evident. Okay, I don't agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's cool. I don't think it's ideal. All right, you got some issues that you're working with, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. The intent to goodness is still there, right? And now we get to, of course, impeccability. And inevitably, when we are disappointed, it's because the parent in question is not being impeccable. Yeah. They pursuing some private
Yes.
agenda. They refusing to deal with the awful truth in some way. They're doing something for, childish reasons, superiority, ego reasons, whatever, right? And that happens. That happens. But if the overall intent to goodness is profound and deep, which it typically is, we are able to overlook those minor issues, yes, because they are minor relatively, and that's the important point. And that's why impeccability is so powerful. And when we live in a culture and understanding and intent, when we have that intent to moreness, we have that intent to impeccability, it's very powerful. I was chatting earlier today with 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 somebody who'd promised to do something, and they didn't get to do it except for a long time afterwards, right? I mean, gosh, months and months afterwards. Yeah. But then they
Wow.
messaged me and said, I just wanted to let you know that I did do what I said I would do. I just couldn't do it then, but I did now. And in the conversation, there was the sharing that it, it- they 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 weren't doing it to let me know necessarily. Yes, they thought that was polite and nice to let me know that they'd done this because I might not notice it otherwise. But also, she said it was for her own benefit. Yes,
Hmm.
it was important to her to follow up and say, "Look, I did do what I said I would do," right? And to follow through, in other words. And this was there were quite a few people involved. He says nobody else responded, and I was most appreciative. Not just that she had done the thing, which was a fairly important thing to do, but that she'd sent me a message to say so. I understood the underlying integrity that lay behind it. That was the motivation. We had a good chat and connection, and I hope there's more coming from it. It was just really cool to see that. And now we have this, moreness impeccability following up. This is important to do things which are which satisfy you, which give you peace of being. If you have outstanding things that you said you do and that you could do and you haven't done, and then eventually do, it's important to finish the stuff and clear your system, clear your books, right? Otherwise, it starts to pull on the energy, right?
Hmm.
It's very important. So we get
This
back
is
this
this is
to,
so brilliant.
yeah.
This is
Oh,
so
go ahead.
brilliant, Syl, because I'm really thankful that you shared this because when you can just scroll your screen and you will see that tons of memes about okay you can start anytime, restart, have no boundaries at any age, at any time you can restart. The idea mostly associated with the restart is okay, if you have been doing a job, please quit your job and start the business. If you have been thinking about learning a new skill, please do that, and all sort of things, which is of course which are also good. But this is actually the new start at any age, having no reluctance to accept and is still trying to fulfill that, and be really adamant about that it is not only because of other people who have been waiting for me to do something, but it is also for me. This is the real fresh start for her, for me. What she was doing at that time, this is the real fresh start, that okay, yes, now I'm just clearing up all my books. Now I'm doing all my commitments, I'm honoring them. And now this is a fresh start. I can actually do that. This is
Wow.
because you can start a new career, you can start a new hobby, you can learn a new skill, but it doesn't involve your ego. But when you really start working on these type of things, this is a real task, to get face to face with your ego and say and sit down that okay, no, I'm not going to let you write me over again. Sorry, no more. This is a fresh start. I'm going to start my life now without having any ego nonsense. This is a brilliant, brilliant story for me. She might
Wow.
be or he might be not thinking like that, but for me, this is lesson. This is my takeaway.
Say the last part again, your takeaway.
This is my takeaway. This is my learning from this story. It's a brilliant story. That this is most important than is learning a new skill.
Yeah.
This is most important than quitting your job or doing your business, or doing your quitting your business and doing a job, whatever you want to. Yes, they all are profound, but this is the most profound thing, to restart your life, refresh your life, starting new in your life at any age, because there she actually not
Yeah.
saying no to ego.
It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. It's such simple things. And of course, at root, impeccability, the core definition of impeccability is best use of energy. When
Energy.
you leave things outstanding,
Absolutely so.
they drag on you. It's like having an open program running on your computer. It slows your computer down. Same thing with us, right? So this is when we understand this. This is very key. And same thing with integrity. Whenever you do things that aren't right and there are problems, or you tell lies or whatever, it's a complication, right? You've always got that worry that you're going to be caught out in your lie and have to then deal with those consequences, right? So it just makes you less effective. It's just poor energy management. Never mind the morality of it, just from a pure energy management point of view.
Exactly.
Not
Exactly.
sensible. Not sensible. It's very useful to
there was
understand it,
there
be
was
aware
a
of it.
puppet show on TV, local Pakistani puppet show, and I used to watch that too because I really love that. It was kind of like a mixed thing. It was not for children, but in on that puppet show there was once a folk singer came and he was singing a funny song, and in which song he did just the first phrase was that the song I have is long like miles and miles, but I have a nail in my foot. He was making it funny, but that stuck in my mind, that how can you actually run with something or go beyond your limitation if you have something like really sticking, your foot is stuck there, one foot. He was saying that, okay, I have a nail in my foot and my song is like long for miles, like a very long song I'm trying to sing. And since my childhood till now, that was sticking still in my mind. And what you are saying, that these unaccomplished goals, not honored commitment and promises, not following up uh,
Unfinished business, in
calls,
other words.
calls,
Yeah.
unfinished business, exactly, in other words, are like nail in a foot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Or thorn. Yeah.
You cannot go miles and miles till you will actually remove that,
Yeah.
pull it
Yeah.
out.
Thorn would be better than a nail because I don't think you work very hard
Yes.
with a nail, but
Okay.
with a
Because
thorn you
he
can
was,
work.
yeah, he was making it funny. So it was a rhyming thing. That's why he was saying that, because
Oh,
in
oh,
Urdu,
I see.
in Urdu, the nail, the word for nail is keel, and the word for mile is meal. So he was saying like, okay, the song
Ah,
is like
yes. Yeah.
meal,
Yeah.
and I have a keel in my foot. So this is how he was saying.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
that was the thing. Yes, a thorn, but to pull it out, you have to actually bend over. You cannot just be with stand up
Wow.
in your ego and
Yeah.
saying that, okay, yeah, so no. To take it out, you have to bend, which means a symbolic version of letting go of your ego.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, I like that. I like that. That's very cool, Beena.
So again, happy Mother's Day to all of you. Even
Yes.
if you're male, even if you're young, you're old,
Yes.
a kid, we all deserve to be. We all needs to be.
Wow.
Even just
Wow.
mother for yourself.
Wow. Now,
Be a
how
mother to your
how
inner
would you
child.
say this fits in terms of the Moreness paradigm? How would motherness, being a mother, how would it
Yes.
fit? From a Moreness paradigm, how would you share anything connected to Moreness paradigm?
Okay. This is what I was trying to share before also, that the idea, the mess up idea we have about mother and mother's love is that, oh, it's a divine love. She's always just loving, caring, nurturing. But we get the mess up idea of love, nature, and nurturing and caring also, because caring is like Syl always shares about the adamant nurses. They just
Yeah.
just take care of your wounds by cutting, by like, okay, pulling out whatever it needs to be. If it is going to be poisonous, they will cut off that part, but they are doing it to save you, exactly
Yeah.
like mothers.
Yeah.
Your mother, no matter
Yeah.
how attractive the flames are for you, she will never let you touch that. Never, ever in her senses. If she is in appropriate mind, she will never let you do that.
Yeah.
No matter how much you are convinced that you can fly like birds, she will never let you just jump off your balcony. No,
Yeah.
but you never think of that, that she restrained me, she was trying to dominate me. No, because you understand that it's a part of love. But when something exactly same came from a friend or from someone who is not your mother, we take it as like, oh, you are trying to control me, or now you are dominating me, because we have a mess up idea of that. Our own ego is so high that we don't want to hear anything good from others. So the moreness paradigm for me is to understand the mother's loves in its true appropriate sense.
Yes.
Appropriateness is the key in mother's love,
Yes. 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 In any love. In any love.
and it has to be in any love.
Yeah. Yeah. This is crucial. Absolutely crucial. Appropriateness. And now you came to that. You said coldness sometimes from your mom. Right.
Yes,
With that adamance. But
yes,
we also get,
oh yes,
I mean, a good mother, right? You skin your knee. What does the mother do? Come here. Gets the
yes,
cloth, cleans out the thing. And you, ah, shut up. She cleans the thing as
yes.
quickly, as sensibly as possible. She's applying positive ruthlessness. We must understand ruthlessness for cruelty and meanness and brutality. It's not. It's a
No,
factor that can lead to that. But that mother is not being brutal or cruel or unkind. She's being appropriate. She's cleaning the wound that needs to be done. So, ruthlessness is the ability to set aside petty motivations, petty emotions, right? That's what it really is. Yes. When we think about it, think it through. It's a misused word, it's misunderstood, right? But again, good nurses, good mothers, positive ruthlessness is an essential quality. If you don't have that, and there are mothers who don't clean out those wounds because they don't want to hurt the child, yeah, and then of course the wound gets infected and festers and all sorts of problems, right? It's not appropriate. Not appropriate. And that is just amazing. It's a very powerful understanding. And from the Moreness paradigm, Moreness culture point of view, this is a Moreness. You understand, right? And get past that and to realize that you do need to have that because you have a sensibility that your child does not necessarily have. Left to their own devices, they'll leave the dirt in the wound. They may survive it, but they may end up with problems. Right? Yeah. So we struggle to do what's unpleasant to ourselves when it's necessary, but somebody else can do it. Yes,
yes,
very powerful. Also, from a moreness paradigm point of view, Beena, for me personally,
yes,
if I were to have children now, yes,
yes.
I would not treat them as children. I would not relate to them as children. I would take
Hmm.
that into cognizance because I'm being appropriate, yes. But also,
Yes,
I feel that, for instance, I would never ever tell my children anything. Never. I would share with them and I would have a discussion, even though at that stage, especially when they're young, the final authority is still mine. Yes. But I would
yes.
discuss with them the pros and cons of a particular behavior. Yeah.
You will be in a bit of problem, but not you. My mother, still, she feels that, oh my god, how I raise you guys, because you
Yeah.
always ask her question. If you are doing something, what is the reason behind that?
Yeah.
Actually, in other words, now, what is the intent behind
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
And
But
it
again,
gives her a bit of tough time.
right.
And she
So,
says that, "Oh, come on, like that's why I was a big mouth." But it is because of her.
yeah. Now, if
So
we
you will have
understand,
you will have big mouth.
yeah. Well, the big point of this is that not everybody wants to be fully honest. Yes. And so they don't want discussion with their children because the children
Yes,
ask uncomfortable questions to which they don't have answers. And not only,
exactly,
well, sometimes they don't have
exactly.
answers. Other times they have answers, but they just have this awkwardness for it. I'm reading a book series, well, two of them. The first one was I'm trying to think what. The Dresden Files, right? So a series by Jim Butcher's the author's name. The first one is all about wizards, and the second one's
Mm.
in sort of a future Roman, but they have, I don't know, like magic involved. Anyway, it's a fun series. But throughout this, you see a repeatedness. Like these characters are always very embarrassed, at least the regular characters. But then there's from other cultures, like barbarians or whatever. But you're crazy, and they always get very uncomfortable when anything comes up to do with sexuality, right? And they're all awkward in this. It's a very American thing, this, right? But it's also very childish. I mean, seriously, this is part of life. You can't talk about this as an adult. It's like, and you get all embarrassed at any mention. Oh, come on, really grow up for heaven's sake. And that's the thing with parents. They have this and they cling on to certain things like this that you can't talk about this. If your kids ask about it, you just got to be honest. And if you
Because of
start from day
unrealistic
go,
expectations.
say again, Bina.
Because of unrealistic expectations
Correct, correct,
from parents'
exactly,
side towards
exactly,
children, because they
exactly.
assume that they are going to be angels, angels without having any curiosity, angels without having any desire, angels without having, and
Yeah,
also that they don't understand the difference between their exposure and their children's exposure.
yeah,
It's a drastic difference between two. Also, they don't try to see the reality that, oh, this is my child. Your child is growing up and having a lot of different experiences,
right.
internally, externally, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. He and she, they are going through a lot. And they don't want to accept that their child is growing up now. They want to keep them as long as they want to, like, okay, really can, to keep them as a child, as a naive, as a cute little baby. The
Right.
problem is, and as long as the children is now growing up and dealing with other things and curious about other things, they feel that they are losing their innocence. They lose their
Oh,
innocence because of your unrealistic expectations and unrealistic burden you put them on. That's why they lose their innocence. They can be innocent, deliberately innocent. They can. If you really share
oh
the
yeah,
real appropriate idea of world with them,
yeah.
that's a problem. Okay, before we going on, first time I actually see you live on Instagram today.
Oh, you are seeing it live. I can't see it
Yes,
live. Please make a comment there.
yes,
Make a comment there.
yes.
See now,
Yes,
I'm
and
I'm fascinated at
I
this.
did, and I shared also with Lubna, Dushka, and of course Amy. I shared with them, and it is there. I can see you live there right now.
Wow, wow, wow. So hello Duska, hello Lubna, hello Bina. This is too wonderful. I don't know where this is because it doesn't get saved somehow. But if you're seeing it there, then obviously it is there, but maybe somehow it doesn't get saved. I don't understand how this works exactly. But that's fantastic
Lubna,
that I am
Dushka, they
seeing
both are
you there.
saying hi back to you. They are saying hi.
Yes, they are live. It's real time. I just love that Lubna and Dushka are watching this. This is too wonderful. This is too
Yeah.
wonderful. This is too wonderful. Mourners people. It's all about the intent. When we understand an intent to goodness, and we understand that even though we may not consciously be aware of what we're doing, that it's there, we start to get to that mourners, right? And in Lubna and Dushka, for instance, they have an intent not only to mourners, but an intent to impeccability, a deep and profound intent to goodness. And it materializes through kindness, through care, through consideration, through joy. Yes. And this is it. And doing what's right, doing what's appropriate, but taking joy in it,
Yes.
taking joy in
Yes.
doing that, not seeing doing things that are right. In other words, not seeing impeccability as an onus, as a stress. No, you know who came up
No.
with that idea? BMNs, right? No, they don't
Yes.
want to do the things. But when we understand doing what's right, according to us, of course, right, to your own conscience, is the only one that matters. When we understand it to be a joy, then life is fantastic. And life is absolutely fantastic. And we get to be of assistance. We get to do things that it doesn't matter. It's not a stress. It's not an onus. It's not a botheration to be doing whatever specific things, right? We do them because they give us joy, because they add to the world. And they don't even have to be very significant. They can be very simple, trivial things that people overlook, but it all adds, right? And doing things for others, it all builds, it all adds. There's a great, great Moreness there. Is Norma here? She is here. Wonderful.
Yes, she is here.
Wonderful.
She is
Hello,
here.
Norma. Hello, Norma. Hello, Norma. I'm glad you're here. How are you, Norma? How are you, Norma? I'm glad. Just Moreness. Moreness comes in many forms. And when we understand Moreness to be that which results from the intent to goodness, fundamental intent to goodness. And it doesn't even have to be an intent to moreness. That's kind of bonus. But just that intent to goodness that leads to moreness. Always, always, always. We tend to hide our intent to goodness in the superiority paradigm, because of course the superiority paradigm comes from the worst of us, and they don't have an intent to goodness. They have an intent to lessness. It's all BS and lies and abuse and superiority and all this nonsense, right? It's all nonsense. And so there's not an intent to goodness. They said their goodness doesn't match their agenda, which is hierarchy, superiority. That's the agenda of the superiority paradigm. Why it's called the superiority paradigm, right? And to get that, you don't necessarily do what's right and good. Oh, wonderful. Norma says she is nearly 100%. That is too wonderful to hear, Norma. That is too wonderful to hear. Ah, that makes my heart very happy, Norma. That makes my heart very, very happy. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So that intent to goodness, to not only be aware that there is such a thing, yes, because and I'm making the difference now, to be aware that there is such a thing as intent to goodness, which is different from goodness itself. We say, well, I'm more or less a good person. And that doesn't really satisfy us, because it's not full, it's not complete, because that is, by understanding and by implication, actual goodness is how much you apply and implement your intent to goodness. This is not always possible, right? So if we gauge ourselves, if we assess ourselves from the perspective of of actual goodness, in other words, actual goodness accomplished, actual goodness achieved, actual goodness implemented, we may come up a bit wanting, maybe a bit less than we'd like to do. Why? Because circumstance doesn't always allow us. When you for instance, in an environment of BMNs, they don't want you to be good, because they don't want to be good, because they don't see advantage in it, right? And they see goodness as a weakness, for instance, right? So this prevents you from doing that, because then you end up with all sorts of trouble from them. So when we understand that goodness can be much inhibited because of the superiority paradigm, we now understand that I
Okay.
can't I can't assess myself according to how much actual goodness I've accomplished, but I can only assess myself according to my intent to goodness. Beena?
Yes. Okay. I just want to say that we have Joshua Alfonso 88 there on Instagram has joined us. So hello, Joshua.
Wonderful.
If I'm
Wonderful.
pronouncing your name right, that is so wonderful to see you there. Okay. And also that, Syl, you have a message in chat on Facebook chat. Please look at it. The other thing was I was keen to share that because what you are sharing about the superiority paradigm, unfortunately, parents play a vital role in actually establishing the superiority paradigm in our lives because they are the
Yeah.
authority, immediate authority we see there.
Yeah.
They are the superiors we see and experience every single moment from our very childhood, from our very first awareness. It's especially for parents, it is necessary, and especially mothers, because somehow they want to have this idea of giving birth to you. They keep it as a medal. They keep it as a medal that, okay, I gave you this, and then you are my kind of your my product. And the superiority paradigm, following the superiority paradigm, we learn from there. Once we surrender our own impeccability, our own goodness towards them, it's very hard to not do that, not keep doing that in the outer world. So parents are very well, their role is very crucial to actually establishing the right appropriate idea of authority in children's life.
Yes. Yeah.
Unfortunately, they train them to
Yes.
follow, to obey,
Yes. Yes.
surrender themselves completely to superiority, and of course in superiority paradigm,
Well. Well.
because of unrealistic expectations. The whole society, it's not only in West, it's in East also. The problem is that the unrealistic expectations, inappropriate expectations from both sides are just killing this whole society, this goodness of whole society. Children assume that because, and they're not wrong in it, sorry, but because you portray themselves as the ultimate authority in every sense from their very first awareness, that, okay, I'm the one who is going to tell you everything. I'm the one who is always right. I'm the one who is going to do everything for you and protect you and do all sort of things. When you establish this idea in a very fragile mind, what do you expect from them? They keep you as almost a god idea in their mind. They actually treat you as the superior angel, at least, if not God. And what people expect from angels, to not ever make any mistake, to not get indulged in anything. You establish this idea of unrealistic expectations. And children assume that this is their birthright to have angels in their home who will not
Yeah.
get involved in any personal thing.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
horrible. This is
Yes.
horrible. They
Yes.
are human first. They are human. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was really, and also that this actually gives me a more clarity about, no matter how parents assume that, oh, our children are not listening, ultimately they do exactly what you have been
Yeah.
really showing them,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
telling
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
but showing
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
My mother showed me this, that everyone treat everyone as human first, which means to give them margin of being human. Always give
Yeah.
a margin of being human. It is okay
Very
if I'm
important.
human, if I like something, so they can also like that. If I need my personal time, they also need their personal time. If I just feel sometimes like, okay, yes, a bit lazy, not scrupulous, not being thorough, they can also be. If I can make mistakes, they can also make mistakes.
Wow.
For me, it is she gave me the ownership of my life right there when she says that, treat me as human first. Okay, so I'm not the whole soul responsible for everything. You are also responsible for your things.
Wow.
And this is we all need to pay attention to. So
Now,
Syl,
now,
welcome to,
oh, go ahead.
yes.
Go ahead.
I
Welcome
was
to,
just
yes.
saying welcome to Instagram Live
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
Please say hi to Joshua who joined us there.
Oh, brilliant. Joshua. Brilliant. Brilliant. I can't see, unless you comment, I can't see that live Instagram. It doesn't show for me, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, there, Joshua Alfonso joined. I see it now, but I don't. Yeah, I don't see it in a regular way. All right, very cool. So yeah, it just tells me who joined. It doesn't say. Oh no, it does say the comments there also. Lubna, and they say hi. Okay, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Now let's look at this. further with the parenting or being a mother. Like I said, if I had children, I wouldn't treat them as children, and I certainly wouldn't ever tell them anything. So now let's take something that the child is doing, and you want them to not do, or you understand the detriments of it. You want to share with them, rather than telling them this is not good. What does that accomplish? Right? If you think it through to the end, look at the implications, right? And you say, oh, don't do that. The implication is, first of all, that you are establishing an authority that they must listen to you, must listen to you. Why? Based on what? Why must they listen to you? Well, I'm your parent. Where's the logic in that? Just because you're my parent doesn't mean I must listen to you about this. The only reason to actually listen is because it is sensible. Yes. And
Exactly.
you can see it even in young children when they get told to do things that aren't sensible. There's a resentment to it. They want to know why. And they always ask why. But that, of course, gets shut down when the parents can't justify why. Now, what are you doing? You are, by implication, saying that I am essentially implementing my will and my ideas by force. You are
Yes.
establishing the legitimacy of force as a means of getting things done. How is this right? It's not right in a legal system, right? You can't force people to do what you want. That's illegal, right? Can't do it. But yet we do this with our children. Now, of course, children may get caught up in sensibility, and then you might need to use that to some degree. However, I feel if you start off from word go, even when the child can't even speak, if you explain what you're doing and why and give the reasons and justifications for it, your child is going to learn to think and not just accept and do. Now, first of all, when you do tell your children to do, I think back when I was a kid, I did this stuff mostly, or didn't do when I could get away with not doing it when it was nonsense. Yeah. Uh, but it taught me to basically disregard what was going on and do under protest. To do under protest. How does this help your child? It doesn't. It doesn't. And it certainly doesn't help for the interaction and the communication. So to me, if I'm wanting some kind of behavior, I will explain why and how it makes sense. Yes? And then ask the child for their perspective and opinion. Yes. Well, right. Let's go with a wound with a gravel in it, right? With the skinned knee or the skinned
Yes.
elbow that needs to be cleaned. And then you say, well, what do you think about this? Can we leave it like that? Well, yeah, why not? Oh, it hurts, but you know, taking it out hurts even more. I say, well, what do you think will happen when the gravel gets staying there? Well, I don't know. Right? Once the kid doesn't know, well, I'll tell you what happens. And then you can explain what happens, right? And then you can even show them infections and say, well, you could end up losing your arm. You could end up dying out of it. Oh, in other words, now you are making the discussion about longer term consequence that they're not aware of. And now you are making the child aware that they are not aware of certain things that are longer term consequences. They don't have the experience for it. So you say, yes, right now it seems okay to leave it there, but you don't know, you haven't had the experience yet. And you're making them aware that there are things that happen outside of their awareness. That simple awareness alone now says, this is why, listen to what I have to say, take it seriously, because I do have experience of things that you are not yet aware of, right? And that's the point. But it's your job. It's not to teach them and tell them, which is what most people think. No, your job is to make the child aware, and your job is to enable the child to develop their own ability to make decisions. Telling them doesn't help their ability to make decisions. Yes. They might learn to be obedient, but being obedient doesn't mean that you're able to make decisions. And of course, that obedience will get your children into massive trouble. Yeah? Just think of relationships. You get into a relationship, it doesn't matter either way. And I've seen this, from all sides of the pictures, right? That one party, regardless of gender, one party is obedient and they just do whatever the other one says, and they don't think for themselves. And same thing with in employment situations, right? And with their friends, they can get massively abused because of this obedience, right? They just follow, oh, okay, and they just do whatever. Yeah, it leads to massive problems of being taken advantage of and being abused. And you think you're doing the right thing. Yes, you're following orders. All right, cool. And people tell you to do the most outrageous things, but you don't even question the the integrity, the morality, the value of what you're doing. You're doing it because, well, I must be obedient, and you just do it. It's a very sad psychology. Now, of course, when we understand that the superiority paradigm culture, the superiority culture, comes from the worst of us, those who do like to abuse and take advantage. Then we understand things in a very different thing. So they want you to set aside your morality and your understanding and your sensibility and simply just do whatever you want them to do, because you do want them to do things that aren't good. It's very powerful. All right, Norma. Norma says, like what you are saying, Beena. I missed that comment there. I don't know what part you were working towards. That's all
Oh,
right, Norma.
thank you,
I know
Nova.
you watched later. It's all good. All good. Love that you were here, Norma.
Yes, it's always a pleasure.
The what?
It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Yes. So now when we understand this, and I've seen this with children, and I've done it with them too. When you give children the credibility to be sensible, regardless of their experience, right? In other words, to say, I know you don't have the experience, but let's think this through. Let's think about it, right? And then say, what do you think is appropriate here? When you give children this responsibility, it's huge, especially, by the way, if you do it and you ask them in relation to somebody else. Yeah, this is fascinating. All right. So let's say that 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 you got siblings now, right? Or the child's friends, and they do something that's not good. And you ask the kids, how would you deal with this? What do you think is appropriate? You'll be surprised what they say. They can be sometimes a lot more harsh than you would be, right? But
Yes.
it's fascinating how they take that responsibility very seriously, even though they may be a negative beneficiary of it. But when you
Yes.
give them that
Yes.
sensibility, it's fascinating. It's
Yes.
absolutely fascinating. Now, of course, they can be inappropriately negative and harsh because they think this is what they're supposed to do. But if you
Oh, yes.
start off from day go and make your children aware that the world as it is not a sensible place, right? And you're making them aware of an alternative culture, then this is most profound, most valuable, most useful. And you're going to train your child to truly think, to truly be sensible, to truly be kind, and to understand things like positive ruthlessness. And of course, to deeply and profoundly understand appropriateness. Yes.
Yes.
And when they do
Yes.
understand appropriateness, life is easy. And when they understand thinking in context, when they understand consequence, when they understand implication, when they understand that, especially to understand short term versus long term, right? The skinned elbow and the skinned knee, great examples of making them understand the abstract, the overview concept here, which is, yes, you may get the benefit now, which is not to have the unpleasantness of removing the gravel or the dirt from the wound. That's the short term benefit, but the long term benefit or the longer term detriment, it's not even close to it, right? There is no longer term benefit to that. However, suffering the short term unpleasantness leads to a longer term benefit, which is health. Yeah. And that mindset, that ability to understand short term versus longer term, this is profound. This is absolutely profound. Yeah. But by the way, Joshua, I'm very keen to hear any comments. Always, we love discussion, we love interaction. So please share, please ask. Any questions. Yeah. Same
Yes.
Dushka, Lubna as well. Very cool, very cool.
Yes.
I know sometimes the way that we're sharing. uh, there's a lot to it, and it's sometimes a bit difficult to ask questions. But nonetheless, any comments, always appreciated. Any comments, questions, sharings, whatever comes up. It's very powerful, very, very powerful. Um, Today, we came to the end of reading book two. So maybe from tomorrow we'll start with the capital R reading of something else. We'll see. Um, we may start again at book one. We don't know. We'll see. We may read some fiction stories. Actually, you know what?
Oh,
I think
wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we'll start tomorrow with reading just a fun
Musashi?
story. Say again.
Musashi?
We can, but Musashi is not necessarily fiction.
Yes.
We can read some Musashi. That would be good if you want to do that. Sure. And I was thinking of reading like the Impeccable Warrior fiction story. Those kind of
Okay.
fiction stories.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that's good. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of them, and I was thinking because it's something that I want to do uh, as part of the realism series. Even though it's fiction, doesn't matter. And I want to put it in there because it's really interesting. When you look at the underlying logic of it, right, you're going to
Hmm.
see there's a moreness that connects back to the appropriateness philosophy, right,
Oh.
to way of impeccability. Even though it's fiction, there's a
Hmm.
moreness to it. Yes. And that's what we're going to read and discuss, which is why it goes into the realism series. Yeah. Which you may not see it at first, but wow, you would think the realism series is all just nonfiction, but no, can be the fictional stories too, because there's that underlying theme to it. Yes,
Hmm.
the underlying concepts, the underlying understandings, underlying awarenesses, completing our education. Yes, 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 Norma. Completing our education is very, very useful. It's very, very powerful. Yes. It's a huge deal. So we're going to do this as we go over. But I like the idea of reading Musashi too, at least finishing it. Beena and I started in the capital R reading. And
Yes.
so we never got to complete this. So I think tomorrow we can, with the Impeccable Warrior can wait because I'm not going to publish that book right now anyway. So there's no hurry on it. But I like doing the capital R readings because I get to edit at the same time. Now that story is at least should be fairly well edited because I posted it on the blogs a couple of times. And so, but always, when you come back to things after a long time, there's always more editing. Because your sophistication of writing improves. And it's going to be fun. It'll be fun to do. But I think we'll start with Musashi tomorrow. This is going to be very interesting to connect to it. And we're not going to start at the beginning because we've already done that. We'll jump in kind of halfway, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Capital R readings you can do at any point, any time. And I'll explain tomorrow why Musashi particularly we're going to be reading, right? This is Miyamoto Musashi, and they call it the Book of Five Rings, but I do believe that the more accurate translation is simply Book of Five Rings, not the, right? If you look
Hmm.
at the original Japanese name, just Book of Five Rings. It's a significant classic work, which yes, it's about swordplay. However, it's also about strategy, thinking, awareness. When you look at the underlying abstract conceptions involved, which Musashi doesn't articulate, he didn't have the language for it back then. But it's become a very important business book. Yes, like The Art of
Yes.
War by Sun Tzu, which is literally about making war. Yeah, but it's those two are business. If you're looking to learn and study in business, when you're looking up books that will help you in business, they are considered classics in that field. They classics outside of business, right? They were big deal books before they became adopted by business. This being adopted by business, it is interesting, Norma. Yes, yes, it is interesting. Uh, they became popular. Uh, I'm thinking I may be mistaken here, but I'm thinking in the 70s or maybe even in the 80s, somewhere around there. They became popular when Japan became to be a one of the major economies of the world, right? Now, when I was a child, there was an expression called Jap crap, right? But it started to fade already when I was a child, like in the 70s, in other words, right? And then people would say, yeah, but not really anymore. And because today, all the cheap junky stuff that gets made is made in China. But many people today don't remember that this started being made in Japan. It's very interesting, right? So after the war, Japan was super poor after the Second World War, right? It was really poor. People really struggled, and of course, standard of living was really low, and there was cheap labor, and so they started making all these things for the American market because they had access. America having occupied it, and I mean, Japan's constitution today is written by an American, Douglas MacArthur. A lot of people don't know that. So they started and they had access to the American market. And of course, Americans like to buy stuff. They're very consumer culture, and they had a ready market for cheap stuff. So the economy came up really quickly. And of course, as it came up, it got better and better. They started making better and better quality things. Today, we associate Japanese product with the very opposite. We associate it with the highest quality, right? Especially in technology. And then it shifted. It shifted from Japan to Taiwan and Hong Kong. Well, I think first Hong Kong, then Taiwan, and then it started shifting to other countries, and eventually it came to China. And it's really fascinating how that whole thing worked. But that's when Japan they started to become really successful. And companies like Toyota and all of those really big, powerful companies started to come up. People started to look a little bit more carefully and started to look at the business culture, the corporate culture, and that's when Art of War and Book of Five Rings and others, but those two in particular started to be noticed and started to come up, and then started to become a big deal in the West. Yeah, because they were using this, because they were aware of these. These are classics for them, of course, right? That is part of your education to read this, like people more aware of it, and they were applying it. Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. And also, there's a Moreness story involved with this evolution of the economies, right? It's a very, very big deal story. It relates all the way back to the Council of the Gods story, right? There was a big extrapolation involved back in the late 70s that I did, and it was called the Coming of the Golden Age, because I looked at that pattern and I started to think it through to the end, and that's really something. I mean, that's probably a show, a program we can do, a live we can do just on that alone, that extrapolation. But we'll put it all there. Do you know what the five rings are? They are within us. Yes, Norma. Yes, 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 yes.
Oh,
Rings of power. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, you can have many, many words for it, many names for it, but yes, yes, that's very cool. That's very cool, Norma. But there's a moreness to the story, and I'm going to share why Musashi's book in particular is important. Yeah, it was something that doesn't come from the book directly, kind of, almost a bit of a negative, but a moment of minor exasperation. Yes, that came from that led to something very profound. And we'll share that tomorrow. We'll share that tomorrow. Exciting stuff. Yes.
yes.
Anything to add, Beena, except thank you to everybody on Instagram. Thank you, Lubna. Thank you, Dushka. Just love you guys. Just absolutely love you guys. Just again, you give me lots of joy just in who you are and how you are. Yes, very cool that you joined, Joshua. We'd love to hear comments. Love to hear comments. And of course, always thank you, Norma. Always appreciate you. Always, Norma, you share so much, and we love your sharing. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Now, this is interesting too, by the way, no, Beena. I
Mhm.
don't see Lubna and Dushka and Joshua. Well, Joshua didn't comment. I don't see their comments in Restream. I
Okay.
have the window still open where the Instagram thing, even though I'm doing it via Restream, I still have to start it in Instagram. But
Okay, we
I
will we
don't
will
see
take care
those
of it
comments.
because we are in
Yeah,
learning process. So we are
yeah,
learning that okay how things are
yeah,
working on Instagram and of
yeah.
course on some other social media platforms in future.
Right.
But today, okay, as you said, Sil, thank you so much, of course. but also about Musashi. We are going to make posts also on TikTok and Instagram and on Facebook. So if whoever wants to join us for the capital R reading of Musashi, Musashi will be just a trailer of the capital R reading for you guys, because actual capital R reading involves like thorough reading from the start to the end, and of course, like okay, we read a bit and then we discuss, and still adds so
Yeah,
much more value
yeah,
because to provide you a context. This is so important. If
yeah,
you are reading a book, of course everyone can understand that, but having someone who can actually give you the context in which time era, what was happening, why these people are behaving in a certain way, or why the actions
yes,
were appropriate at that time, this is so crucial, and it adds a lot to the story, and it adds a
yes,
lot to the comprehension, of course. Then now
yes,
you can understand the Japanese psychology almost. Of course, not entirely, but you know a bit that
yeah,
how they were thinking, how their
yes,
culture was at the
yes,
time, and
yes,
how Musashi's book was so important at that time.
yeah,
And of course you will be able to understand that how big the vacuum was, that till now it is so relevant. Because otherwise, in my thinking, when I am reading Musashi, just like okay, now this is something, yes, he did, it was wonderful at the time, what he was missing, but now we can learn and adopt. But actually this is not, we are not living in an ideal situation or paradigm, so we
yeah,
still need all these things. And why these are so still popular and attractive? Because of the vacuum we had, because of the missing links. And these missing links are so crucial. And this is what actually Way of Impeccability provides you. It doesn't give you the whole thing, the whole chain,
correct,
the nothing. Just
correct,
provide you whatever you have already existing ideology, your perception, even your religion sometimes. Wherever you have missing links, Way of Impeccability provide you that missing link. So you
yeah,
can have a complete picture of it. Then of course you can make deliberate choices about that. So this is so crucial. And this is exactly what you guys will experience, that when we will read Musashi,
yeah,
that the missing link there. What was the missing link and how you are going to actually remedy this. So this is going to be an
depth,
adventure for me.
yeah,
Please, if you like to, please do join us for tomorrow's Musashi reading.
right,
Okay?
right. I liked your idea of making posts announcing what's coming tomorrow.
Yes.
I like this very much. This is very cool. On TikTok and Instagram. This is very
Yes.
cool. This is very cool. Very cool. Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And also, um, that you were saying about those links to missing links to culture. It is about how
Yes.
we can extract moreness. It's not specifically stated, but if we learn to capital R read, capital H hear, in other words, practice real discernment and the ability to look at implication, which is part of discernment, we can gain, extract so much more than what's said directly. Very
Yes.
powerful. Very, very powerful. Very, very fascinating. Very exciting. Very exciting. All right. So we'll see you all tomorrow. This is most fun and most exciting. Yes, I'm eager. I'm eager for tomorrow. All right. So we'll leave
Yes.
it there for today and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Please, whoever is watching today, sorry, I just kind of ignored the YouTube, but from tomorrow I'll be there too. And
All right.
you can, if you are going to watch us recorded, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe. By doing that, you are going to promote the Moreness culture, not only for yourself, but also for the future generation. Every click on the appropriate choice, making an appropriate choice, is actually creating more data for the algorithms to actually choose what to give you more, what you really want. So by doing that, it is not something that okay, I'm asking, okay, please do like my video or my post. Nothing. It's not like that. Like it because you found value. Like it because you really like it. Like it because you want the same type of content for not only for yourself but also for the future generation, because social media is so open. We are shaping it, we can shape it. as per to our understanding and requirement and desires. So please do contribute into shaping social media platform as a Moreness culture. Thank you so much. See you guys tomorrow with Musashi.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. That's too wonderful. Let me just finish my comment here real quick.
Yes.
And then from there, there's the information that can be used. All right, brilliant. Because I have to actually end the live video before I end this one. Well, the
Yes.
live on Instagram, but now it's not letting me do that. I don't know what happened. So
We
maybe
are
because it's
learning.
gone over an hour. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just gone over an hour. All right. So we'll see you guys all tomorrow. So I'm going to end meeting for all, and hopefully I'll see you soon, Beena. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right. All right. Bye
Okay.
bye,
Bye
everybody.
for now.